Talk Connection. Welcome inside the Wrestling War Zone, a Monday Night Wars podcast retrospective series. I am JT. Joining me as ever is my partner Chad. Chad, how are you?
Doing good. How's it going?
Good. And it's a big night here, of course. It is pay-per-view night yet again. There we go, a little repeat action.
Oh boy.
Let me hear it again. Well, it is WWE pay-per-view, so it's technical difficulties all the time. Anyway, it's a big night. It's pay-per-view night. It's Zodiac pay-per-view night. It's WrestleMania 13. When we set this show up 6 years ago, who could have thought we'd land right during WrestleMania season for WrestleMania 13, Chad? Perfect booking from the start. Russo-esque booking. Anyway, I guess I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about before we get in? How have you felt about the build, I guess, before we get in? Have you, do you think it was well built? Obviously, we know some of it was shaky, but was there certain stuff you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so June 4th, 2020 was when we dropped WrestleMania 12. So
there you go. A tight 4 years.
Been a while. No, I mean, I think with this show, we'll get into it. This is, I think, one of the more complicated shows to review. Because obviously there's a classic match on it that has a lot. I mean, it carries it. I think that's no shocker. We'll talk about the other stuff surrounding it. I think, it's a very complicated show. It's a show I have a lot of thoughts. I think going in, it was one that they kind of not necessarily punted, but they were more interested in projecting their new kind of theme and mission statement of Raw is War, more aggressive, more brawling, more edgy product, and that took front and center over building a classic like WrestleMania card itself. And even with some of the aesthetics of this show, it's an interesting mixture where the WrestleMania 13 Heat graphic with the flames is a little edgy, but you still have like the ring apron classic WrestleMania trim. It's just tough watching these manias. I mentioned it a couple of days ago in our chat. But it's tough watching these manias from like 11 to 13. And I'm really interested to see like 14, 15, and 16 too, because I think it carries over a bit. I think 14 kind of bucks the trend a little bit, but just these manias and these arenas, I don't know if any of them necessarily feel like the show. Like you're so used to like the splendor of WrestleMania now that when we're recording this, it's just funny. Like we're coming off an Elimination Chamber event in Australia that had 50,000 people, and then I threw on WrestleMania 13, at Rosemont Horizon. It looked kind of just like every other show. So overall, it was a show I was interested to rewatch. Luckily, with my spreadsheet, I had rewatched this one since 2016, but it had been since 2018 since I rewatched it. Yeah. And I had a lot of, usually when I rewatch stuff, I'm generally pretty, quarter, half star variants, if that. This one had some pretty wild swings on a couple matches, as we'll get to. So
yeah, and you kind of nailed it. We talked about it, how the change over to Raw's War and the format kind of happened at a weird time. It feels like now that's something that would happen like the night after Mania, like they debut this crazy look.
Yep.
For them to do it 2 weeks before was kind of wild because now it's like, all right, it feels like a new era, but this Mania card is built on the back of the old era. So this really is a full-on bridge show from one to the next, which is fine in ways. And I think, whenever you do rankings back in the day, or even semi-recently, 13, I think, is always at the bottom of lists. But I think I've come around on that a little bit more, mainly on the back of the one all-time match, which, Ryan and I right now, we're counting every WrestleMania match ever. We know where it's going to be, right? Top three at least. So it's and that's WrestleMania matches. It's probably top three, if not number one of all time in company history as well. So
yeah, I mean,
that carries a lot of weight on the show.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's whenever any of those lists come out, like greatest match ever or whatever, it's always the top WWE match.
Right. And it's a hyped match. It takes up a lot of time. There's a story there. So like that all adds up. It's not like it's just a random match on the card, over delivered and hit this crazy peak. I mean, this is what the show was built and designed around in the final weeks. So that's the one that delivers. So it makes it interesting, like you said, to rate as a show. So just for a level set for those listening on audio, you can also join us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. This is a video simulcast as well. We have a lot of content on both audio and video, a lot simulcast, but there are individual stuff as well. We have a lot of WrestleMania content going on right now. We just kicked off our countdown series, doing the top 40 WrestleMania performers of all time. Check that out. And then we're also, like I mentioned, Ryan and I are counting down every WrestleMania match ever, doing those in short format. They're all 1 minute or less on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram Reels. And we're going through each one of them. It's going to culminate on WrestleMania Saturday this year. So a lot of cool WrestleMania content, more to come as we go into WrestleMania season. This is part of it, obviously, covering WrestleMania 13 here tonight. All right, so Chad, let's dive in. Like you said, it's the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, WrestleMania 13. We start very straightforward with the opening video. We kind of blend some historical highlights. Some big matches are on tap. We hit those. Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, and Jerry the King Lawler welcome us into the Rosemont. The crowd is pumped. We go right to the ring for our opening match, which is a 4-way tag team match to determine the next number one contenders for the tag team titles. The winners of this will get the title shot on Raw the next night. This features the Godwins, the new Blackjacks, the Headbangers, and Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon. And out of the gate, I'll just say, like, we have come quite a bit from the tag division depths that we were at in late 96. I mean, if you think of the last 4 we had on pay-per-view, was SummerSlam 96, and it was the Guns, the Body Donnas, the Godwins, the New Rockers. And that match was terrible. The Body Donnas were banged up. They were pushed like jokes. The New Rockers were clowns. The Smoking Guns, we were so sick of them by that point. The Godwins are the Godwins. Godwins are still a constant here, but at least feels like we have some energy with these new teams, a different look and different presentation. So it at least feels like we're evolving somewhat. Owen and Bulldog are still the constant, obviously, but feels like we're making some progress in that division. No?
Baby, very, very minimal baby.
I'd rather take the Headbangers, Blackjacks, and First of the Fallen over the Guns.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it. I don't think this match did some of those teams much favor.
Yeah. More the division than the match. But the Godwins, Hillbilly Jim, they amble out. Tag division showcase, like we talked about. Winning team getting the title shot. We see our Spanish announcers, our French announcers. Vince is all pumped up. The Headbangers come out. Furnas LaFon follow. Ross runs down the rules. This is elimination style. We get some footage of the original Blackjacks from 1975. And then Pettengill talks to Blackjacks backstage briefly. We get some final hype. They're clearly being positioned, to me, as the top team coming into this, into this match right now. They get the highlight package. They get the inset promo before. They get the last entrance. They're definitely being, to me, presented as like the team that we should look to win this match, I would think, coming in.
Yeah, you would think before the bell rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they trigger a fight right away. All 4 teams are brawling. Things clear out. Hank and Bradshaw trade some punches and kicks. Ross says these 2 teams had a slobber knocker on shotgun last night. Hank's fired up, gets a big clothesline, tags in Thrasher. Bradshaw cuts him down. Vince talks about the Slammies and Fashion Mania events that happened over the weekend. Bradshaw beats on Thrasher, tags in Phineas, lands some shots. The Headbangers do some mosh pit dancing. In comes LaFon. The Headbangers double team him. They get a nice snap suplex. Vince throws back to the Dynamite Kid when they sees that. Wyndham comes in. He walks into a Northern Lights by LaFon for 2. Furnas tags in, works the arm, gets a Frankensteiner. Tries to leapfrog, but Wyndham catches and slams him down. In comes Bradshaw, lays in some strikes, but Furnas knocks him to the floor with a drop kick. Wyndham helps Bradshaw block a suplex into the ring, and Bradshaw ends up taking Furnas to the floor with a suplex. The crowd rallies a bit as Wyndham slugs away on Furnas. LaFon comes over. All 4 guys brawl. Bradshaw throws the ref down, and we get the stupid double disqualification. Vince basically calls Bradshaw stupid for blowing this big opportunity. And we find out that they're disqualified, and Furnas and LaFon are counted out. So they're all gone at the same time during this melee. And like you said, the presentation of the Blackjacks as the top team goes out the window here. I think they did this type of finish to keep them looking strong for not losing. But what do we have to lose by having them win here and fight Owen and Bulldog the next night? Like, I don't get it.
I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, it made no sense. So we're down to the Godwins and the Headbangers. Phineas works over Thrasher, tags in Hank. They're working Thrasher over. Vince wonders what Phineas has been doing with the farm animals lately. The Godwins keep tagging and battering Thrasher. Hank hits a cactus clothesline. He's been working hard in this match. I'll give him that. Mosh tags in as a springboard crossbody off the top to Hank on the apron. Mosh launches Thrasher off the top into Hank on the floor. Back inside, Mosh misses a moonsault. Phineas catches a tag, comes in hot. Vince is excited. He gets to see Phineas get riled up. Phineas loads up a slop drop, but Thrasher makes a save and hits a top rope seated senton, and the Headbangers get the win and pop. And we'll head to Raw tomorrow night for the tag title match. Look, I thought this had some energy. I like the opening stretch with the Blackjacks coming in hot to brawl. The double elimination completely took the wind out. Those two teams looked great when they were in there, like at least for the energy that they had. The crowd kind of died when they came out. I don't get showcasing the Blackjacks at all and not running with them. The elimination style hurt. Why not just keep it wild and just have the finish with the Headbangers win? Why even do elimination? Just have all four teams going crazy and the Headbangers steal the win. Then the Blackjacks don't look as stupid or weak if they pin Phineas anyway or whatever. So the back end was okay. Thrasher gets the pop. 2.5 for me. It should have been more. I think it could have been better orchestrated and at least protect the Blackjacks more with how much hype you're putting into them.
Yeah, I went to are the Headbangers supposed to be heels or faces right now?
I think it's ambiguous. Like, I think they were supposed to be heels at first, but I think they realized maybe the Blackjacks were going to be heels and things were tilted. I don't know, but they end up being faces pretty quick. I think their heel stretch is like a month.
I mean, their offense is all like high flying. Like they have no heel offense in this match. So it was a disconnect for me. My biggest issue was just with the Blackjacks positioning because I think they showed some energy. It's clear that Furnace LaFon are falling on real hard times because they're the fourth most featured team in this whole match. So they're basically like a job squad now. And even their elimination was confusing because I think Finkel said they were counted out, but then either Ross or Vince on commentary said they were disqualified too, which a lot of it was just a mess. Once it gets down to the Godwins and the Headbangers, I thought it was fine, but again, I had a problem. I mean, the Headbangers obviously should have won then, but I just have a problem with their identity where it's like, all right, like they're a new team, that's something, but their gimmick in some ways feels a couple years too late. I mean, it's better than what it was, like straight occupation gimmicks, but it felt. I mean, I don't know. Like they kind of needed to go maybe a little bit more Marilyn Manson, less grunge, and we'll see if they transition.
I think they get there as they go along.
Yeah.
More to Marilyn Manson.
So right now, this I think again was kind of baby steps, but it was one of those where it was like, well, given my choice of who to want, it'd been the Blackjacks. If you give my second choice, it'd be Furnace LaFon just to get. I mean, but they're cooked, and then the Headbangers are the third choice, but I thought it was a little convoluted overall, so it was all right.
I think what we'll see throughout this Mania is the pieces were there. They just are struggling still to put the puzzle together versus some other Manias where like at 11. I think this compares to 11 a lot, which this is way superior to an 11. 11 just didn't have the horses to run with. Whereas I think 13 has those pieces and that it's not put together. So like this match, you don't even need to change anyone in the match to make it better with simple moves. Just make it non-elimination and the Blackjacks run rampant through the match, but the Headbangers steal the win. Or the Blackjacks get the win. But at least they don't look stupid and do this dumb elimination and take them out.
Yeah, and they really called it out. When I talked at the beginning about how complicated this card is, to me the commentary is like the biggest part of that. I'll just say I hate the commentary on this show, except for one match. I don't think they're awful in the Chicago Street Fight, but up to Austin, Hart, they were bad. Vince is doing his ha. He does that like 3 matches in a row. I don't know what's going on with King, but he was really having a lame night where like his jokes were not landing and were just like awful. And then like Ross was kind of stepping on their toes, like they had no. It's one of the more shocking like commentary teams that has zero chemistry for a show and is a hindrance and then becomes a positive in one match. But we'll get to it because this and then in this match, them being confused on how Furnace LaFon were eliminated, that was their biggest gaffe. And the next couple of matches, I think they have more egregious.
Well, then Vince
stuff.
straight up calls Bradshaw stupid. Like, yeah, it's just
that don't help either. So it's
they seem stuck in between again. With that, I think this is such an era of change that Mania has happened at the worst possible time because like they're still trying to sort out so many different pieces and what's what and how they're going to act, how they're going to present guys. Is it going to get edgy or is it going to be still some babyface like milquetoast stuff? So I just think they're just a mess and it was just a weird time. All right, we get an ad for In Your House on 420. Shout out to Hot Tokes Podcast. Never too late to bring that back. Those listening. Your favorite boy here, Chad, the Honky Tonk Man, hits the ring. He's singing and dancing.
Knowing what you want to do.
He hops in the booth. Hops in the booth for our next match. We also see Captain Lou Albano and Arl Scotland are in the crowd, so some luminaries with us.
Some of the I know you have issue with Albano being a glory hog. Scotland is one of my whipping boys. I mean, absolutely the most useless manager. Like, stood in. The only thing he did was lose Bob back on the title. Like, that's the only thing. That's the only time he ever did anything. Like Bob Backlund's getting beat up by managers and everybody else in Scotland's just like sitting in the corner on all these Madison Square Garden shows. It's terrible. But yeah.
Well, he's sitting in the crowd as well.
Yeah, he's sitting in the front row here. The golden boy himself. Yeah.
Ross makes a joke about King and Honky looking like cousins, which is funny. And then Honky's definitely feeling himself tonight. He's out there yucking it up. All right, brings us to our next match for the Intercontinental title. Rocky Maivia takes on the Sultan. As bland of a contender as you could get. We talked about this. Like they obviously panicked after Mero went down and they struggled to find someone to step in. So they just throw in Sultan to give Rocky a match. Speaking of Backlund, Bob Backlund is here with the Iron Sheik. They head down with Sultan. Vince thinks Sultan is a favorite tonight. Ross says Rocky has to stay composed and focus on Sultan to have a chance. Rocky gets a nice little reaction. We find out he won the New Sensation Award at the Slammies on Friday. Ross gives Rocky a hard sell. We see Tony Atlas is also at ringside, just a foot away. Honky rambles on as we get a stare down and some shoving into a Rock flurry. Sultan hits a shoulder block. Rock kips up and unloads, sending Sultan outside with some drop kicks. He follows and trade punches. Rocky bangs off the post. Sultan takes over. Honky's fired up. He's saying Rocky makes too many mistakes in there. Back inside, Sultan hammers away. He throws Rocky around, meandering through some offense, some lazy covers. Goes to a chin lock. Honky keeps shitting on Rocky, rants about Cindy Margolis. Sultan hits a knee to cut off a comeback. Sultan works the back, chokes away, goes to belly for two, goes back to the chin lock. The crowd's losing it now. Rocky slows down. Sultan with a double clothesline, gets two. Rocky fires away, dances back, dances around, hits a drop kick, a belly to belly, a swinging DDT, and a high cross body. Iron Sheik ties up the ref. Rocky eats a thrust kick. Sultan nails a pile driver. It looked pretty good. Rocky kicks out, and then he just rolls Sultan up for the win. Yeah. Doesn't even get any kind of finisher, just rolls him up. Sultan and his crew attack after the bell, but Rocky Johnson is here and makes a save to a pop. His dad, of course, he gets beaten down too. Hockey's cheering them on. Rocky Maivia rallies and cleans house on the crew. Pretty mediocre. It picked up a little bit late. Sultan flashed a couple spots. Rocky's in line with what we've seen so far. He had energy and a good comeback. I mean, you look at the legacy of IC title matches at Mania. This is a real tough one to add in there. It's probably one of the worst. Honestly, I'd have to look at the list to see where it ranks all time, but it's down there for sure. Rocky does feel like he's gaining some legitimacy at least. We'll see if this Tony Atlas thing goes anywhere. Because remember, they had been building that he was kind of watching Rock's back, but then he doesn't come out. You know, Rocky's the guy that comes and makes a save. So Sultan's washed. This is his last hurrah. And again, odd not to have Atlas involved after the build. So I want to star in 3/4, mainly for Rocky's energy and the pile driver.
Yeah, 2 1/4 for me. I thought it was decent.
Oh, wow. All right.
I mean, decent. I liked. I like the opening with the flurry of punches from Rocky, and then when he clotheslines the post.
Yeah.
Um, that's a spot that gets overused a lot now, but was pretty unique in '97. Don't feel like we've seen that much. And I thought it was a missed opportunity by the Sultan too, because he rams the arm over the guardrail, but then goes back in and like starts working a leg and doing nothing, like no follow up. So that was a problem. This is definitely the first time like the crowd turns on Rocky. You can hear audible "Rocky sucks" chants. It's interesting to see if that builds, or if it. I mean, because Chicago kind of is always a little bit of a unique crowd, but we'll see if that builds and whether that's justified. I don't know. I mean, this match was tough. I mean, this is gonna be a tough. These are two guys that have good chemistry, as we'll see
Yeah,
later
it
on
is.
the road. They didn't have it here.
It comes down to the gimmick for Sultan. I mean, if he would have just been Fatu as a heel, maybe it's a bit better because he's a better worker without the stupid gimmick and having to work all the Iron Sheik shit. Obviously,
Yeah.
Rocky is still pretty green too, but we've seen some decent stuff from him. I just think the Mero thing really hurt him because I just think he could have had a pretty good match with Mero as a heel. Mero beats it for the title, maybe. I think it would have been much more enjoyable. If Cassidy wasn't so washed up too, like you could have maybe reheated him to stick him here. I think the one guy that they could have put in here, well, we talked about Flash Funk. They obviously weren't going to do that, but I think that would have been the best option to just turn him heel or just go face. Billy Gunn, too, is like a guy. He fights. We didn't mention this. He has a dark match. He beats Flash Funk. He's a guy that could have put in here with Rocky as well. I think that would have been a better match and a better opponent. So that's another guy they had some plans for that's not even on the show.
I think the roll up finish was very weak too. And then this is one of the problem with matches like this where the match itself, the post match is way more exciting. Like when Sultan slams the belt and he hits the big splash, that's better than any spot in the match, maybe since the pile driver. And then, Rocky Johnson cleaning house was a cool moment, I guess. I mean, overall, I thought this was decent. I think this, again, is it's what you mentioned, though. Like, in the lineage of WrestleMania matches, this and the main event, too, you got to look at, like, WrestleMania main events and WrestleMania title matches, and then also Intercontinental title matches in WrestleMania, which had more stinkers, so I don't think it's as glaring as the main event being for the title is. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely in the more in the Junkyard Dog Valentine category than Steamboat Savage. So there's that. I think I believe it was the entrance of this match too, where you get some unique signs where as I believe it's Rocky coming out, somebody right in the entrance front row has a sign that's like Vince that says Vince is God, Bischoff's a bitch or something, or Bischoff's an ass or something
Pushing
like that. It's interesting that they we'll get to that too at the end with some of the feedback and stuff. But as we've talked about in this show, there was definitely the war was sides were aligning between whether you were team WCW and WWF, and that was becoming more prominent.
I know they wanted to have an IC title match against this Mania, but do you think that they could have done a tag here with Rocky and Rocky Johnson against like Sultan and Backlund or something? I mean, like maybe would have had a little.
Could have went, yeah. I think they. Rocky's just in a tough spot because if every other face that you're projecting in the company is showing more edge, like think about like your top faces coming out of the show. It's Austin, right, as we'll talk about. It's LOD, Ahmed, Taker. Like they're all showing more edge and intensity. Rocky just doesn't fit that. Like he's still, clean cut, vanilla baby face.
Yeah, this is that battle of like the old versus where they're headed for sure.
He's
kind of
to me the personification of that. Yeah.
Shawn Michaels a little bit too has been a little bit of personification. Like he seems kind of caught in between of what he wants to be.
He's just a lame.
I know, but that's part of it, right? He's just kind of still doing
Lame
that Wayne
douche.
baby face.
Yeah, well, I think that's more his
Right.
persona instead of their projection. This is something they're molding that probably would have worked better. I mean, like Tatanka was still, you didn't get Tatanka sucks chance in 1993 when he was undefeated for however long. And you're getting
things
that
are just changing. I mean, the world has changed. ECW, NWO, like it's a lot different.
Yeah. You can't just roll that out. Because justified or not, people see him as getting a spot that he doesn't necessarily deserve.
And think of
And actually,
what's going on in ECW right now too, like with the Raven and Dreamer and Sandman, and they pushed a lot of people to watching it with Barely Legal, etc. So like, if you think of just the dichotomy of that versus something like Rocky Maivia is like dramatic, and then it's the same with the NWO and WCW.
I think there's actually two. I don't think it's a big effect at all, but I actually think how bad IAK is kind of rubs off a little bit on Rocky too.
Agreed.
Where like you can lump them together, and it's like Rocky's better in every aspect than IAK, but it's easy just to say like, oh, well, you got two promotions trying to project these guys that don't deserve it, so they kind of get lumped together.
All right. Todd Pegel, he's with Ken Shamrock backstage, narrates his beatdown of Billy Gunn on Raw from last week, then sets up his stance to do the job as referee tonight. Doc Hendricks is on the scene as well. He talks to Hunter Helmsley in China. Doc asks about the relationship, but Hunter just kind of handwaves him, issues a final warning to Goldust, and that brings us to our next match, which is Hunter Helmsley versus Goldust, a feud rolling on since December. Hunter and China march to the ring. We get to talk about China's impressive physique. Goldust and Marlena saunter down. Ross says they were the best couple of the Slammies. Goldust starts hot with a flurry of punches, eventually knocks Hunter to the floor. King makes a Vince wig joke. Vince plays along with it. Goldust hammers away. Hunter gets tangled in the ropes, eventually blocks a body drop with a face breaker. Ross says China has bigger arms than King. Goldust comes back with a power slam, heads up top. Hunter meets him and shoves him to the floor. Back inside, Hunter gets to work with very simple offense. Strikes to the chest, chopping, stomping away. Hunter can't put Goldust away, so he goes to an abdominal stretch and a chin lock. Goldust goes low. Hunter stays in control. Goldust comes back, but he drops his head. Hunter gets a DDT. Both men end up colliding. Goldust meets Hunter with a butt bump as he comes off the top. Hunter misses a charge to the corner. Goldust takes over with some strikes and a bulldog. They amble a bit more until Goldust pulls Marlena to the apron to protect her from China, but Hunter shoves him into her, and Marlena flops right into China's arms, who ragdolls her again. Hunter hits the pedigree as that's going on and picks up the win. So pretty much what you would have expected coming in. Some fire, slow at times, grinding, not a lot of excitement, a lot of rest holds in the middle, and then a very long comeback where Hunter kept stooging before Goldust finally took over. The feud had some good pieces, but they can't match an intensity when the bell rings, especially with something this personal. So that's really hurt this feud and Hunter all along. China was stoic the whole match until just destroying Marlena. She's looked the best at all this. She's been presented fantastically. Hunter wins decisively, but we'll see if this is it or if we're going to continue with this feud in any way. So in 2 1/4, again, I like the beginning and the end. The middle just continues to drag, and that's a Hunter and Goldust issue for the last few months here.
Yeah, I went 2.5. I agree that this had a really hot opening. I thought they did good in starting with a brawl. Good punches by Goldust. I'm really turning on Hunter here in '97. I thought it was maybe a marrow issue. And so at the end of '96, I was like, well, okay, he's showing some signs of life, like giving something. But I really thought in this match he was a detriment because I thought on top he was very unfocused, didn't really match what his strategy should have been, where he's just doing basic methodical heel one-on-one stuff, and it's unfocused and not great. And then the spot with Marlena bumping into China looks really great. Sets up the finish, so the finish is well presented. This is where I think I thought the commentary was horrible on this match. Though the way like China herself is presenting herself perfectly as this dominant force, and commentary is just so like egregious. I know it's a different moment in time, but it's just so bad, like how much they're dogging how she looks. Like, yeah, I mean, Hunter's legitimately dating this woman behind the scenes. It's one of these weird, even like Ross is clowning on it too. And I mean, between him, King, and Vince both, like, just the comments are atrocious in retrospect. And even if you think of it in the moment, they don't help. Like accentuate her strengths, right? Like, say, like,
they're not making
this
it look
shows
better.
she can be a powerful female figure, that we've not had in the World Wrestling Federation. I mean, that's how she's projecting herself. And it's just, it was a distraction here. I think this feud now can be over. So that should be good. I don't know. I can't remember. I feel like Hunter's very kind of sputtering because now he's got his like piece that he was looking for between like the bodyguard stuff, which we talked about. So he has that. It's just now he needs to get in a feud that works for. And I think
that feels personal.
Yeah, I probably comes.
Well, this one is personal. Like the pieces are there. It's not clicking for some reason.
Well, I think that the issue is just one, like, Marlena cannot match herself up to China. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do. Like, either she's going to be ragdolled by China, which she should be, or like if you say like, oh, the face gets her comeuppance, it's not believable. And then on the flip side of that, like in this match itself, Goldust was working it like he was, pissed and brawling and showing some intensity. He slows down in the middle, but in the beginning, he shows a lot of intensity and the punches are good and crisp. And Hunter just doesn't give him nothing. Like his heat is just like every generic, house show technical match you're going to see. It's just there's a disconnect with all that. So put these two away, be done with that, and then we'll see. And I mean, I think for Hunter, it actually doesn't come till the summer. But
I think the thing with Hunter, we'll see it long term, is he's just a better like garbage brawler. Like, it's just always, you look at his best matches historically, that's his best stuff. So that's not happening right now. So I think we're not, until we start getting more of that, then I think we're going to be lacking with him. So.
Yeah,
even though he's presented as a technician, it's not.
Yeah, the stuff he did with Austin, like at Buried Alive, may have been like a false premise that could have presented himself well, but it's not something he's going to deliver time in, time out.
All right, Michaels is backstage as usual, trying to type. He's struggling to type. That'll be a thing for the next 30 fucking years. Heads to our tag team title match. So we're rolling along here. As the British Bulldog and Owen Hart defend the tag team titles against Vader and Mankind. Been kind of a weird little feud and tag title match. And again, we got heels versus heels. The card is just all... The roster is very jumbled right now. They don't have balance in any way. So yet again, we've mentioned it all night. As a result, the card is kind of haphazard. It's just where they are as a promotion right now. There's no balance. Vader, Mankind, and Paul Bearer wobble to the ring. Tumultuous partnership, obviously. Bulldog and Owen are down. They got the belts. They got the slammies. Ross comes down. He tries to stir some shit about Owen's comments being the leader of the team. Owen kind of rants, and then Ross leaves. They get to the ring. Owen and Vader start. JR cracks up Vince with a RuPaul joke. Vince talks about these two having an altercation at the slammies. Vader controls early with punches and a headbutt. And that's actually a good slammies moment. It's Vader chases Owen, and like Owen like knocks over a waiter into him, and Vader falls over the waiter. It's pretty good. It's a classic one.
Yeah.
Because Vader just like vanishes out of frame because they're shooting it from far because they're running through the crowd. And also Vader's like falls. Owen gets a spin heel kick. Vader shakes it off, catches Owen on a charge, slams him. Owen dodges an elbow. Vader counters a Rana to a powerbomb. Things break down. They all start brawling. The challengers maul Bulldog as Owen regroups. Bulldog comes back with a double clothesline. Owen follows with a drop kick. Bulldog settles back down, works over Mankind, gets a nice release suplex on Vader. Bulldog hooks a chin lock on Mankind. He's spilled to the floor. Mankind tries to use the urn, but Bulldog fights him off. Vader comes in and clocks Bulldog with the urn. Back in the ring, Vader hits an avalanche and a middle rope splash. Tags in Mankind, comes in and pounds away with hard shots. The challengers keep quick tagging. Bulldog comes back with a power slam on Vader as he comes off the middle rope. He tags in Owen, who comes in hot, cuts through Vader. Vader knocks down Bulldog with a body block. Things break down again. We go outside where Vader and Mankind hit a decapitation device off the apron. Mankind lands a very hard punch. That looked like it hurt. It was pretty stiff. Mankind snaps Owen across the top rope. King is cackling. He realizes that Stu and Helen are in the crowd. Back inside, Mankind wrenches away at Owen's neck. He cuts off a comeback. The challengers continue to pepper away. They ragdoll Owen. Owen hits Mankind with an enziguri. Bulldog comes in to clean house. Loads up the power slam on Mankind, but he slips off and hooks the mandible claw. Vader takes out Owen, but in doing so, Owen bangs into Mankind. He falls to the floor with Bulldog. They take a pretty nice bump, but Mankind keeps the mandible claw hooked in the entire time, and we get a double count out with all four brawling until they get broken up. So kind of a weird match. They got a lot of time. They had some pretty cool power stuff. The energy was there. The finish was terrible, though. It was very weak into the end. Again, I get you want to protect guys. Mankind's being set up for a big match the next month. But they've built this whole feud around Mankind and Vader not getting along. Bulldog and Owen not getting along. You could have Vader and Mankind take a fall, but them arguing, Vader knocks Mankind down, Owen, rolls them up, whatever the hell you're going to do. Like, we don't need another stupid finish here, which has been the case pretty much throughout the night so far. At least, not stupid, but just things that don't make sense. A real finish, a more defined heel face setup, I think would have helped. Overall, both teams feel temporary. Both teams feel like in a weird place. Again, just happened at the wrong time for the story of the champions. Like this felt like Bulldog and Owen should be more united against this monster team. Instead, they're both telling the same story on both sides. The crowd didn't know how to react as a result.
No.
I'm assuming Mankind and Vader are done as a team. We'll see where the champs go. They're going to face the Headbangers now tomorrow night off of this for the tag titles. I went 3 stars. I liked parts of it. There's some stiff stuff in there. But overall, the story and the crowd interaction just really hurt it.
Yeah, this was one that raised with my watch this time. I think the crowd is dead as could be for this match, which is unfortunate. I think it's one of those interesting kind of discussions on whether the crowd's wrong, because I do think like the match itself is good. I went 3 on this viewing. But I think just with the way the feud is set up, it didn't portray itself to be a crowd favorite. And even the way it's worked, it's kind of odd where you didn't see a whole lot of miscommunication between either team. That was kind of the lead in within the match. Owen gives a very spirited babyface performance, and that's the first time he's been working as a face in a long time. You're talking 3+ years. So that's fun to watch, like him nip up and do.
And it's tough timing because, like, I know they had to be fighting for what's going to happen in a couple weeks to really take effect and make sense. But I think like Owen and Bulldog having a little babyface run in early '97 as a team could have been fun because the way the tag division stacked up. Like, they are really good in that role. I kind of wish we could maybe get like a month or 2 of them just kind of facing some heel teams and just could have had more heat on it if they were faces. And you could still do the war between the two of them. If you have Owen, like Bulldog is kind of winning him over against Austin and he starts, but there's still that little tinge of Owen, but he's working as a face for months. And then he finally snaps the hero the next night and they start to fight. And that's when you get to it. So I think you could have given us that and had some fun little moments in there if they were working purely as a face team.
Yeah, finish is real bad. As you mentioned, it feels like a cop out. Yeah, I mean, I probably would have jobbed out Mankind. I mean, but this is another problem though. You can't job him out because they're prepared for him to challenge next month. Like, he hadn't done nothing in 6 months, but they had that lined up already.
But Vader hitting him and him getting pinned, like, I think that could have still protected Mankind.
You could have done that and even done like on a Raw, like a number 1 contendership match between them two that he wins. That would have worked. This is a match that's a very interesting like vacuum match, and it's one that you don't. I mean, you see each of these 4 interact at other points, but like, let me even look at Owen Hart.
Well, I know Bulldog and Mankind definitely have some interactions later in the summer. I know that during like the Pick Me Steve stuff. And then Owen and Vader fight at One Night Only, which is a great match. So I know they fight there. I don't know about Owen and Mankind if they.
I was fixated. That's who I was wanting to look at because I just don't recall them much after this. And yeah, the only televised stuff they have is a Shotgun Saturday Night in July, and then Sunday Night Heat #1 is Owen Hart and The Rock versus Kane and Mankind of all things. So they really have no interaction after this, which is kind of a shame. I mean, we talked about like with Owen underperforming a lot on the history of this pod. I thought this was one of his better performances. Vader, I think, continue like 97 continues to be a better year for him, which is that's going to be one of those things I really want us to thread line, because I think with somebody like Vader, when you talk about like him historically gets a lot of greatest wrestler ever support, will be probably top 50, top 75 when that vote happens.
And you could say he started to turn it around in like July with International Incident, SummerSlam. Stuff with Sid was pretty good. But yeah, since like the Rumble, he's really turned it on. Honestly, since him and Paul Bearer and Mankind joined forces is really when he like amped up.
Yeah, I mean, I think since then you could argue he's the third best wrestler in the promotion behind Brett and Austin.
Yeah, I think since ditching Cornette and kind of getting away from that shit.
Yep. So that continued here. This is just an odd match. I think it's a good match between the ropes. This may have been a good like performance center match because I mean it felt like that. Like the heat is non-existent. So it's unfortunate.
All right, well, we're gonna get the heat back right here.
Yeah.
We get our hype package for our next match, which is Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. It is a submission match. It was no holds barred for a week, I think. It's back to submission officially, so that's where we're at. It's been the top feud, obviously, since Bret returned in November. They've been marching toward this massive explosion. We've had a lot of ups and downs getting here. We didn't know if it was going to be this. If it was going to be Bret and Shawn, right? A lot of different changes. But for the last 5 weeks or so, we've known pretty much in place that this was the match we're going to get. Ken Shamrock is out. He's the special referee. We get an all-time Steve Austin entrance with the glass shattering on the WrestleMania 13 entranceway. So that's awesome. Bret comes out. He gets a pretty good pop as well. We start really hot. Both guys throwing down. They're scrapping on the mat. Bret shoves Austin off the post, but Austin is able to crotch Bret on the rail and clothesline him into the fans. They fight back through the crowd to the stands. Austin's wailing away. Bret dumps him on the stairs with a backdrop. They make their way back to ringside with Bret in control. Austin throws Bret to the railing. He slugs him off into the apron and slings him into the post. Back in the ring, Bret gets a swinging neck breaker, starts to batter on the injured knee. Very precise and quick hit offense. Austin cuts him off, gets a stunner, but Ross reminds us that there's no covers. Austin is still hobbling. Bret goes right back to the leg. Vince is starting to twist the commentary now a little bit at this point. It talks about Austin's guts and his fortitude. He's taking little shots at Bret and the way he's wrestling the match. Bret goes to the ring post figure 4, grabs a chair, hooks it on Austin's ankle. He tries to do the Pillmanizer to him, but Austin slips free and just crushes Bret with a chair to the back to a huge pop. Then he follows with another heavy chair shot. Austin gets to work. He's zeroing in on the back. Ross says it's not about the past. He's not posing and covering bald spots. This is about two great athletes. We see Bret Hart's daughter's in the crowd. She's hiding her face. At ringside, as Austin hooks a tight armbar and twists into a Boston Crab. That gets a pop. Austin releases. He sets up a sharpshooter, but Bret breaks it. Bret slugs away. Austin throws him to the floor. He stands to pose to a mix of boos and cheers. The crowd is so loud here, all over the place. They don't know who they're cheering for, but they're into it. Bret throws Austin to the railing. He knocks down the timekeeper. And of course, this is where he emerges bloody, just gushing from his head. And one of the all-time blade jobs, of course, in WWF history. Bret is hammering away at the cut aggressively, starts to run through his closing offense. Ross keeps referencing Bret's WrestleMania match from a year ago. Bret grabs the chair, smashes Austin in the knee. Vince again is ripping the actions. Ross says Bret's out of control. Bret loads the sharpshooter. Austin blocks it with an eye rake. He kicks him low. He throws Bret hard to the corner, stomps him down to the corner with anger. Ross is hyping it up. Austin hits the superplex as Vince basically apologizes for the blood. Austin grabs an extension cord. He's choking Bret across the top rope. Bret grabs a ring bell. He hits Austin in the head with it. Brett quickly pounces. He twists into a sharpshooter. Austin refuses to give up. He almost breaks the hold, but Brett keeps it hooked in. We get all the classic visuals. Austin doing the push-up with the blood pouring down his face, and then he eventually passes out. Shamrock calls to the bell, and Bret Hart gets the win in the submission match, even though Austin never submits. Bret celebrates. He tries to pick up the passed out Austin. He wants to attack him more. Shamrock pulls Bret off. He throws him down hard, and finally Bret leaves to booze. Austin starts to wake up. He wants no help. A referee comes down to check on him, but Austin hits him with a stunner, and then he stumbles off on his own, bloody and beaten, but not defeated. Amazing match, a perfect match. The story, the aggressiveness, the hard-hitting offense, the rabid crowd. You mentioned the commentary, their God mode during this match, because not only do they tell the story of the match, not only are they calling it, they're also telling the story of the double turn that's happening before our eyes that we maybe weren't fully expecting, with Vincent Ross slowly throughout the match, ebbing toward defending Austin, putting over his guts and his fortitude, calling out Bret for his actions. King is a little bit lost in there because he hates Bret, right? How do I act? The finish makes both guys look badass, with Bret just wanting to wail on him and locking this move and not letting go. Austin is passing out, refusing to give up despite losing, pints of blood. And it's legit because Shamrock is obviously legitimate in this world, right? So he knows this guy's out. We can't risk further injury or death from Austin bleeding out. So I'm going to call the match. He was fantastic. His first ever job refereeing wrestling match. I thought he was great. To me, it's still the best match in WWE history. And it kicks off the next era of the promotion. It was number one on my greatest WWE wrestling match list ever. Forget it. Greatest wrestler match ever in WWE history. 5 stars, 6, 7, whatever you want to put it on the Meltzer scale. Still holds up tremendously. Didn't lose a thing in this rewatch for me.
Yeah, so we can get the superlatives out of the way. I agree. I think it's the best WWFE match in history. It's the only WWFE match I rank as a 10 out of 10 on the 10-point scale. I have like 11 matches in history that I rank at that. So this is one of them, ranking all my best matches of all time worldwide. This probably slides in at like 7, 8. So that's pretty
It's a lot of
impressive
matches.
feat for, I don't know how many. I mean, over 50,000 matches, I would assume, watched by this point. It's a great match that tells a absolutely crackling story that evolves into something like I think the Survivor Series 96 match is very important to get to that match to have this one. But this is why I always prefer this one, because I just think you can't tell the history of this promotion without this match, and you probably could without the Survivor Series match. Was the and this promotion. There's no. It's tough to put into words. Like it's the, it's Hogan versus Sheik. It's Hogan versus Andre, like a type of match that has that type of magnitude. Even Hogan versus Savage may be the best comparison, because that's like a really hot feud too. And in ring, those are very good matches, but it's nothing like this. Like this is like an amazing, great match that feels totally unique in WWF, WWE. I mean, you can start with the beginning. You hadn't seen a crowd brawl like that in WWF, WWE. Now, we've seen it in ECW. We've seen like Benoit and Sullivan do it in WCW. Yep. And I think Benoit and Sullivan is actually an interesting comparison to these two guys, because that match obviously has some like legitimate heat with each other and is very personal. But the feud that we've seen on screen can be slightly convoluted. That's why like those matches have that vitriol effect, but because the on-screen story just feels a little bit convoluted, they don't reach the heights of like this match does. It's one of those interesting comparisons. Like if you just take the mechanics of the brawl itself, Benoit Sullivan may be better in some aspects when they do the crowd brawling, but the on-screen personification of both characters and the willing to do business with each other, but also lay it in. I think that's very important in this match.
Yep.
There's a feeling of hate that gets conveyed on the screen that's replicated with these two having respect for each other behind the scenes. So that's a great like dynamic that you just don't see very much. And I mean, you didn't see with Brett versus Sean because of their legitimate dislike of each other too. That comes out as we'll get to in Survivor Series, I think, in a more hate-filled brawl, which helps. But I mean, everything about this match is so great. From the brawl itself to the drama it presents to the crowd. I think the crowd really is should be commended on realizing what was happening and playing with that.
Yep.
I do think for commentary, I think commentary's strong overall. I think the commentary of Ross in particular is what sets it apart. If you're someone that wants to say Ross is the greatest commentator of all time, this is a good match to put up for him. Because I think both with Vince being berated by Hart and being a little bit too on the nose, and like you said with Lawler, not really knowing his role because he's traditionally hated Brett. If Brett's now a heel, what can you do? I did think Lawler did pretty good in at least peppering in, like when they were slugging it out, he kind of projected as a fan, like where it was like, I don't care, they're both beating the crap out of each other, so this is a win-win for me. So that's good. But yeah, commentary rules, especially Ross, is excellent, excellent, excellent in this match, conveying it. And this is really when Ross becomes, Stone Cold cheerleader. Who you won't get it full blown, but this is definitely the first match where he's all in, and all in, and you can hear that. Austin getting a good reaction coming out, I think, was very important too, though. Because we talked about even as early, I mean, as later stages, the Royal Rumble, he doesn't get hardly any reaction. Final Fours, nothing tremendous. So I think with the glass shattering and the visual and him getting that kind of vitriol reaction from the Chicago crowd is very important to set the tone for this match. Yeah, and then once the match gets back into the ring, everything's great. Like the stuff with the leg work is great. Austin sells it great. You have some callbacks with the chair, the Pillmanizing of the chair and whether that's going to happen. The sharpshooter creates a great visual. The blade job in of itself is a very kind of unique blade job. One in that it's not too obvious. And when he blades, it's when he kind of gets catapulted into the timekeeper table, but he does it very discreetly compared to most others where you see a blade job of this magnitude. So that's a good job from Austin, who's not traditionally a bleeder at this point either. He'll bleed a lot more in the next few years compared to what he has so far. And the actual location of the blade job is interesting, where it's right on the temple. It's not kind of over the eye or in the forehead. It's more in the temple of the head. So it gave a unique placement. Other thing just mechanically about this match that I adored is every weapon that's used in this match is something that is
realistic
mechanically around the ring.
Yeah.
There's nothing there's no let's pull up the apron and see what's left behind, whether it's a kendo stick or random tables, these chairs that are just randomly under, the chair they use is a timekeeper's chair. The electric cable is part of the ring. The bell's obviously part of the ringside area. So all the weapons in of itself are very logical, more seen as like a product of opportunity instead of, hey, we're going to, set something up that can be felt as contrived at points. So there's never a logic gap. And then I think the main thing too for this match is just the overall visuals. I mean, Austin, you have obviously one of the more iconic visuals in wrestling history of Austin power. It could be number one, powering up in this sharpshooter with the blood trickling down. But the figure four post is a great
Mm-hmm.
moment. It's a great visual because you see Stu Hart in the background looking very stoic. Brad in of itself getting taken down by Shamrock's a great visual moment. Off of the
Yes.
waist lock, he gets kind of ragdolled down. Brett leaving the ring all flustered and giving the finger to fans is a great visual moment. Brett's daughter with her hands
Yeah.
covering her face is a great visual. I mean, this match is just it's very artistic and it's everything coming together. We talked about like a lot of the stuff up to this point in the show and in this company is hey, we're on to something, but we don't necessarily know how to project that, how to portray that. This is okay, this is the new direction of the company. These two are able to craft this story and this is what it's going to be going forward and
Mm-hmm.
it's all of it's successful. And including the double turn which you can I mean you just did not have in wrestling history up to that point. It's a very unique concept and one that's still very difficult to replicate. Like Dolph
Yeah.
Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio may be the best it's
Right.
been replicated
Yeah.
since, which is funny to say. But yeah, amazing match.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's an all timer, the best in history for the company for sure, and it holds up every time you watch it. It holds up. But yeah, you can look to nitpick it, but there's nothing there. It's to me, it's perfect, and they get a little bit lucky too, right? The blade job happened to be so perfect and so good that it added to the, if that blood isn't pouring down his face in the sharpshooter, it's still cool, but it's not as iconic maybe because they even use that footage so much that it's on the cover of the first Stone Cold tape, right? Like blood from a stone, the shirt, like all that stuff,
Yeah.
all feeds off of that. Um, so it's yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, it's amazing stuff. And to your point, if you're watching this, and I was as a 12-year-old, right? I was like, all right, yeah, hopefully we get more of this and less of Rocky and Sultan. And they do, like, the Brett Austin stuff is, we're like weeks away from going hyperdrive and being the hottest Raw stuff you always hear about, right? Like Austin and Brad, Team Canada, like you and I are like a few Raws away from that going into super mega drive.
Right.
For that all-time stuff. So like this, we're on the doorstep of it for sure. So
Yeah, this was definitely a match. I didn't watch this WrestleMania live, but I forgot to mention Austin puts on like an octopus hold, which is just crazy, and he actually executes it well. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, this was a match where when I rented the VHS tape, even as an 11-year-old, at this point, I didn't have anybody at school that was a WWF fan, so I was kind of on an island there. But yeah, I mean, even as an 11-year-old, you could tell like you were watching something special. It's one of those matches that transcends that. Um, I mean, I think Bret Owen and even Steamboat Savage, first time I watched that it had that quality to it, but this is one of them. So we can run through Marcus from War sent us a list of some stuff. Is Bret Austin the most effective high profile match in company history? I think you have to say so. Um, I mean, I don't know what you would even. It's a difficult thing because it's not like we'll get to it with this buy rate in of itself. This isn't necessarily a money match on this night, right?
no,
Like it's not Hulk Andre from a box office or
it's not
Rock.
even, and it's not even Austin Michaels from a year later with Tyson. I
Right,
mean, that's
right.
a much bigger draw.
Yeah, yeah. So from a draw, it's interesting, but
Lashley Umaga is a bigger draw, right? You could argue that's a bigger draw, right? A
yeah,
more important
yeah,
financial match than this one.
yeah. But as far as effectiveness, I think this is I mean, I guess, do you think like this is the most important match in company history, or would you say it's like Hogan beating Iron Sheik, or
Yeah, because I think Hogan could beat anyone like in that. Like Hogan was going to be a star anyway. I mean, even Hogan Andre. I think if you do Hogan Orndorff for 3, you're not losing a ton. You're losing an all time moment, but I don't think it really changes the trajectory. You could argue maybe something like Rock and Wrestling um, in there, perhaps. I don't
yeah?
know, but Punk Cena maybe, but the company didn't change for so long after that. It's hard to
No,
say.
yeah, and I don't think you
Mm,
saw. I mean, it could be an effect of how much they botched it. I mean, that's the
yeah.
difference too. But yeah, there wasn't necessarily like an update.
Montreal,
Yeah,
maybe like because that really changes the
small.
direction of the
Mhm.
promotion. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say it's the biggest match in company history. It's the most effective match. He lists a bunch of reasons here.
Yep.
It finalized the double turn. It's rare to pull off, like you said.
Yeah.
Shamrock gets established, sets up feuds for Shamrock with Austin and Brett. Well, actually, ironically enough, neither really ever happened. It leads to Brett's all-time run as a heel. Makes Austin, become arguably the biggest star in company history, top 2 at worst. I mentioned this earlier, the blood from a stone visual. The JR Austin pairing, like you talked about, gets us to 2 all-time matches at SummerSlam and Canadian Stampede, and obviously the greatest match in company history. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that it's not the most effective across the board match of all time, the most important match in company history. Um, and I could put it on any time if you said, "Oh, we're going to throw it on again and live watch it." I'm in. Like it's iconic for a reason. As a kid, like I rewatched it a shitload. I probably thought about it endlessly. I'm guessing in 1997, everything Austin I thought about endlessly in this match right up there with
Well,
it. So it's all
it's a
time.
perfect length too. I don't think that can be understated too.
Yeah,
It's not too short. It's not too long. For a brawl, it feels like the optimal
yeah,
length for that. Because even matches that I really love going forward, like Taker versus Michaels Hell in the Cell. I mean, it's longer than this, so it's a tiny. There's where you get into those microscopic differences on if you have to ding it. That's
right.
where I think this one pulls ahead. It's I mean, so like it certainly seemed like in the moment. I mean, we talked about like how any listing it's usually number one. In the moment, I mean, Meltzer gave it 5 stars. Keller gave it 4 3/4. Um, I guess I should I do my Meltzer rant now. I think this is what I mean. As we've done the show, I feel like of our corner, our little pocket of the wrestling community nowadays, I may be a Meltzer apologist. I think this episode, this issue of the Observer is the worst issue of the Observer I've read. Um, Part of that I think may just be like again the grandeur of WrestleMania,
Hmm.
but you would think like a match of this magnitude, it'd been really cool for somebody with like the historical mind that
Yeah.
Meltzer has to go through like, oh, here's the other times double turns were effective, or here's
Hmm.
other big star making match, like make this long lengthy process and give examples instead. I mean, he gives a rundown of the match. His actual review of this show seemed more concerned with what Kurt Hennig was doing, which felt like a very weird thing. And then there's just some weird, like, I mean, he gives like there's some embarrassing reader pages at the end, but even like, so the attendance of the show was just over 18,000. So it's like a couple hundred more than the United Center Nitro. And even Dave, like, it's so funny in retrospect when you hear like how he hates WWE now. Like, even in this Observer, he talks about like, oh, WCW really kind of had like egg on their face because this actually drew more. It's like, dude,
It's
it's like
WrestleMania versus Nitro.
WrestleMania versus a
Yeah.
Nitro, and they were within 200 people. Like, that's a pretty impressive feat to me
Yeah.
on WCW's part. So
I
so
think it
it's just,
speaks more. Honestly, I think it speaks more to Chicago, just being a red hot wrestling town. I
oh,
mean, they
very
were going to
good
fill up
wrestling
anything.
town
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I mean, I think just overall, it's so it's just now like the consumption of media around WrestleMania week, like you can't escape it. You know, everybody's gonna have their takes and audio and etc. It's just so weird to read that, like, you know, now we know in retrospect this is what most people hold up as the greatest match in WWE history, and like Dave dedicates one paragraph to it, like 300 words in Observer. Keller's the same. I will read poor Jason Powell. He's in the reader pages of the Torch, and he has a funny line in retrospect. Austin versus Brett was really good, but I'm not sure if it's a good idea to turn Austin. So that's a tough two sentences in retrospect, but you can't win them all. But yeah, I mean, just an amazing match. I think we talked about and wanted to give just, and I think the post match was good too. That they held on to it.
If you want to nitpick anything, it's a terrible stunner on Kyoto, where he almost like breaks his neck. You probably didn't need that.
Yeah, I think that I like that though, because I think that shows this is a different type of baby face too.
Yeah, he's still not getting
like he's getting cheered, but he's not just gonna be like posing for the crowd.
Yeah, suddenly,
because I mean, with every other turn, you saw that. Like even like when Macho turns at 7, like all of a sudden now he's posing for the crowd, right? Yeah, so
yeah, and Shamrock was fantastic. I mean, it made him legit right away. Watching this,
yeah, I think Shamrock does good in this match and being involved but not getting in the way. So he does a really good job of adding a little bit of legitimacy, even at the finish. Because I mean, it's a pass out finish, so that could be anticlimactic. But the way Shamrock says, you know, Steve, if you don't respond, I have to stop the match. Like that added a pretty good.
Well, and it's one area which is rare, but it's one area where WWF is ahead of WCW right now, is like leading into the shoot fighting UFC world. Like WCW really doesn't have any of that going on. ECW obviously had some with Taz and the way he was being presented, but this is like they're ahead of the game to get into the mixed martial arts, Shamrock, the tapping. They introduced a tap out to wrestling a few weeks after this with Shamrock. So they're like, that's one area they're actually ahead of the game for once during this time period, is involving and leaning into the MMA stuff. Much ahead of the other big promotion.
Right. Yeah, that's probably the one like aesthetic style that they have the advantage right now. Because there's, I mean, we'll talk about. I mean, after this match was a brawl, the next match is a brawl, the main event's a brawl. So they're certainly moving more into that, which is more ECW's.
Well, they've obviously taken lessons, right? They had to deal with ECW. The Russo's in the ear. Shane has started to get in the ear a little bit, right? And then also they saw with ECW how they got over on TV. You know, Lawler's down there doing this angle. I'm sure he's talking about like the style. It was a Memphis-y style anyway. So it seems like they're definitely starting to edge toward more of that, you know, the brawling, violent fighting versus just the basic old school wrestling in ring.
Yeah, I just think this one's elevated by being very realistic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's beyond everything else. All right, Todd Penkel's with the whole nation's domination. He lays out all the weapons the group is carrying. Farouk says the punks and criminals are out in Chicago tonight, and they're all coming. And them as a group are coming for Ahmed Johnson and the Legion of Doom. And that's our next match. It's a Chicago street fight. Also a pretty well-hyped match, well-built match we've been looking forward to. Legion of Doom, Ahmed Johnson versus the Nation. The whole nation's out. This is street fight. Obviously, the violence is set to continue. Vince, this always makes me laugh too. The announcements today are so much bigger for like next year's Mania. Like we don't even get like a graphic for this one. Vince just says next year WrestleMania 14 will be in Boston. It's like a throwaway line during this like next to the main event match.
Well, I think I know why they did that. It's because WCW announces their Nitro on sale date at the Fleet Center. Right around here, so they're kind of.
But they at least put a graphic together.
Oh like, yeah, I mean that's another like little petty. Yeah, it's funny, just like it's a micro.
But him just doing like a throwaway, like line.
Yeah,
like
he doesn't even no press conference or nothing, obviously.
Or not even just a graphic. Give us a little, like even WrestleMania 6 had a graphic for 7. You know what I mean? Like give us something, a little video.
100,000 people.
Yeah, anything. Big pop for LOD. They come out. It's their first Mania match in 6 years. Actually, yeah, since WrestleMania 7, right? Because they didn't fight at 8. So it's only their second ever, which is kind of crazy at this point. Yeah. Ahmed is with them. They're all in spikes. They're all carrying wood. It's a really great visual. Farouk jumps Hawk before the bell. We're off and running. All 6 are fighting. The nation clears out. PG-13 get in the ring along with one of the suits. They get waxed as well. Clarence Mason eats it as well. On top of that, Crush and Savio double up Hawk. Farouk uses a nightstick on Ahmed. Ahmed gets a somersault plancha into the crowd as Crush and Ahmed, into Crush, I should say, as Ahmed batters Farouk with a trash can. After that, he uses the can on Crush as Hawk beats on Savio. They grab the board, but it misses and ricochets off the top rope and back into his hands. Outside, Ahmed and Farouk fight on the French announce table. Animal pile drives him on it, but it doesn't break. They topple off the side of it, which is kind of a little bit of a rough-looking bump.
Oh, very rough.
Crush, Savio, Hawk, and Ahmed brawl into the ring. The crowd is chanting for LOD. Animal unleashes a fire extinguisher into Farouk's face, hits him with a trash can. All 6 continue to fight using the trash can. Ahmed slams Farouk viciously to the French announce table. Savio wipes Ahmed out. Animal assaults Savio with the trash can. The whole ringside area is just buried in smoke from the fire extinguisher. Just pure chaos. Savio smacks Ahmed with the can. He grabs grabs a rope from PG-13, puts a noose around his neck, and and then Clarence Mason, one of the suits, yank it from the floor. They get yanked off the top off the top ropes from the floor, choking Ahmed as Savio, Farouk, and Crush work over Hawk. Hawk roars back with the trash can. Crush cuts him off. Ahmed slips out of the noose and meets Savio outside. Marlena's chair gets used as a weapon. Savio gets crotched on the railing. Savio and Ahmed fight into the crowd, back to ringside. Ahmed smacks Farouk with a street sign. He uses the noose on Hawk while Crush hits Animal with a wrench. Hawk finally overpowers and yanks free, pulling Farouk off the middle rope to the floor. Ahmed chokes Farouk with the noose. He washes out Crush with the extinguisher. PG-13, the suit, Mason all come in the ring, but Animal and Ahmed fight them off. The LOD grab Crush and hit the Doomsday device, and Ahmed and Hawk clothesline him with the 2x4 and pin him to pick up the win. The fight continues after the bell, but LOD and Ahmed clean house. Ahmed buries the suit with the Pearl River plunge. LOD and Ahmed then destroy PG-13 with a pair of stereo Doomsday devices to close us out. Super fun weapons brawl. The crowd is super into it as well. Nonstop with a lot of variants of the weapons and the violence. And I'll give him a lot of credit for keeping this red hot after the classic match before it. A lot of WrestleMania matches have collapsed following an iconic all-time match. This one kept the crowd involved. They had a brawl with weapons. It was chaotic, but in a different way. So kudos to them as well. It didn't feel repeatable as the last match, right? It felt different. The heat was there. Perfect blow off. Ahmed gets the win. LOD was a brilliant addition to this feud and to this match to give Ahmed the backup. They've been a big time addition to the promotion as a whole. I don't know if it ends here or not. We'll find out. It could be just another chapter, but it works as both, either the end of a chapter or the end of the war. I thought it was really well presented. And even if it does continue, this really should have been it because it was really well done. I went 3 1/4 on this, and I thought they did a nice job following the iconic match before it.
Yeah, so this was the one that dropped for me on this viewing. And it actually dropped from when I watched it to when we talked about it. I kept thinking about it, and it kept dropping. It's a very different brawl. But I didn't like that it came right after the other. I think I would have put this actually as the opener.
Yeah.
There's just something about some of the portions of this match, like it's such a garbage brawl, to where just in a vacuum, it's somewhat entertaining.
But do you think doing this before Bret Austin would have hurt it? Though? Like, oh, we've already seen the garbage brawl. Like, I think Bret Austin really resonated because it was first.
I don't think so, because I think that's such a different brawl.
Yeah,
I to me, like, the heat was fine. I mean, it was good. To me, it's just it hurt me watching it because it was like, man, I just praised how logical and still like LOD's literally bringing the kitchen sink is kind of like a comedy. I mean, it's one of those like, haha, we're literally bringing the kitchen sink. I mean, with these matches with 22 guys around, there's going to be some slop. There's the pile driver you talked about. That's a pretty big it's pretty bad. There's a couple others, like once the noose gets introduced, Hulk like literally like tightens up the noose himself to choke it. I mean, at one point there's a foot long gap between the noose. So there's some stuff with that. Again, I think this is a bad finish. There's no reason Farouk doesn't take this pin. I think that's the biggest missed opportunity as far as the match itself is Crush getting pinned.
Yeah.
Nothing. You might as well pin Farouk, get him out of there. I don't know. I mean, they basically made it like he bailed. So it's like, I guess, like he has all these goons to do his bidding for him, but I mean, it's like if you're gonna have him lose, this is the moment to have him lose. And
I don't think they were done with the feud. That's why I think they wanted Ahmed to beat him one-on-one and still chase him down. So
big mistake, because I mean, I think history will show it won't be as high.
No, it should have ended here. Yeah, it definitely should have ended here.
So I think the moment would definitely be, actually I'd have had the PG-13 Doomsday be a part of the match, because that looked incredible. I'd have had that happen, and then Farouk, you could even have him doing his no please and gets the Pearl River plunge for the pin through a table would have been great too. I mean, because saw
they could have done it.
Yeah, you saw like Ahmed do that to D'Lo, and it looked so good. So there's some stuff with that. I still like the match. There's just more things in this one that bothered me, and I the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, yeah, that doesn't necessarily sit right. So I ended up at 2 3/4, and again, I think this is a match where if you don't watch this show as a whole and just say like on a random Saturday night, hey, we're gonna watch a few matches, and this is one of them, I like it better. It was just in watching it with the confines of this show. And after coming off that great logical brawl, because I don't know if I'd ever pieced that together as much with the Austin Brett, how like logical and how they didn't use that, and how much of a contrast this is with just straight garbage stuff.
It's kind of like, I mean, you compared Brett and Austin to Benoit and Sullivan, right? This is kind of the Harlem Heat public enemy.
This is the public enemy stuff. I mean, that's exactly what this is. But I feel like we haven't had one of those back to back. I mean, I think some spots on this look better than the usual of those. I think some looked worse. I mean, it's in the same ballpark with those. They're very like garbage fun brawls at their core.
And this one had a lot of heat to it, which is good. Like, I mean, the crowd was into it. LOD is super over.
Yeah, I mean, LOD is very over. That's something that, again, like I didn't necessarily remember them not being over, but I didn't remember them being as over to this extent. So that's,
it was a big addition. It's kind of an under the radar get for the Dirty F at this time. Like,
they really need to be in the tag division. There's somebody that needs to be.
They're headed there. I think they just want.
They're headed there, but I'm interested to see how that is, because it looks like they should clearly be. I mean, even like you could have a cool feud with them with the Blackjacks to bridge. I think there's options.
Well, I think they're another team that's going to get screwed by the uniting of the Hearts, right? Because they needed, they wanted the belts with them.
Yep.
So. All right, we get another ad for In Your House. Shawn Michaels comes out. He had promised he'd be here. He's going to hop into the commentary booth for our main event. Penn Gills with Sid backstage gives his final message to Undertaker, and that sets us up.
He almost loses. He says, like, how's he phrase it? He gets stumbled a little bit, but he barely hangs on. This is a barely hang on moment for Sid.
He makes it. That brings us to our main event. The Undertaker challenging Psycho Sid for the Dirty F Championship. Taker gets his long-desired title shot. Very unlikely champion. I think if you would have asked us in January who would be champion come WrestleMania, I don't think we would have put our money on Sid, is my guess.
Yeah.
Taker makes a long stoic entrance. He's got his original garb on, which is cool. He brings out the classic gray gloves. Vince calls it out. That's a cool little note. Ross notes that Taker's never lost at WrestleMania, so kind of early mention of the streak here.
It was weird how he phrases that. He goes like, he's never lost at WrestleMania as the Undertaker. It's like, what
Yeah,
else is that? What is
it never was
me
anyone else.
Mortalis did not have any.
Well, did he say has the Undertaker? Sometimes he words phrases. He might have said has the Undertaker. Like Ross says that sometimes where he does a subject at the end.
He's never lost at WrestleMania. Has
the Undertaker. Yeah, that's a Ross. Listen back. I bet it was has. That's a Rossism right there. You're gonna listen. You're gonna listen to it. Yeah, Sid's out. He's got some smattered booze. He's focused. Sean talks about his history with Sid, the approach of both men, and we get a stare down. Out comes Bret Hart to booze. Sean shits on him right away. Bret gets in the ring. He grabs the mic. He calls Sean a faker with a pussyfoot injury. Vince basically hugs Sean to keep him at the table. Like he's groping him, keep him there.
This definitely felt like the girlfriend trying to hold.
Yeah.
This is Sammy Sweetheart holding Ron back from attacking.
One shot, bro. One shot. Yeah. Bret says Taker slammed the door on their friendship when he hit him with the cage door, and this is a new set of rules. Bret says that Sid knows that the title belongs to him, and he's a fraud. All boos here. Sean's mocking him. And as much as everyone remembers the double turn in the match, I think you almost forget how involved Bret is in this main event. Like, this really hammers home that he's like a whiny fucking crybaby that's going to be heel now. This bangs it into the
ground. I would say in some ways I think a little too much, honestly. Like I like the subtlety of the stunner for Austin. This with Bret is very beaten over the head. And just from a logic standpoint, it gets kind of weird because I mean, I guess you could like he gets powerbombed by Sid, right? And then you got Sean cheering that, and it's like, wait a minute, 2 months ago you said like this was your most personal fight, beating up Sid. And now, I mean, I know you hate Bret too, but it puts him in a little bit of a weird space where he's like, well,
it's the shades of gray shit, I guess, but.
You were defending your dad's honor, Jose, 2 months ago after he attacked Pete. And now you're buddy, or not necessarily buddies, but cheering him on. It was a little much. It was a little much, and also I didn't like that because that gets Sid a face pop going into the match too. Because
he's kind of been a face still, though. He hasn't really changed.
Yeah, I know, but
I think they're all kind of mixed.
Wow.
I think the Bret part works that he has been like pushed over the edge. So him coming out and whining and bitching, he's just like had enough. Like I don't think that part hurts. I don't think we needed him like 3 times. Like he shows.
Yeah, my issue with him is I think you could justify everything he said up to this point as being truthful, and this just felt like him complaining.
Yeah,
this was the first time it felt like you were really. Like, and not necessarily like it was mainly what he said to Sid, honestly. Because, like, him talking about, like, slamming the door on their friendship, that's fine. Obviously, he thinks Sean's faking it. That's legitimate or whatever. It was what he said with Sid. Like, everybody here and in TV land knows that should be. It was like, well, I don't know about that. Like, that seems a little much, but. Yeah.
I guess Austin cost him, and then he got fucked last week. Is this talking point? But, all right. So Sid has enough. He just punches him in the head and then power bombs him. Bret's in pain. Sid grabs the mic. He tells him to take his whining ass out of the ring, which is funny. So whatever you think of this with Bret, it's probably the most exciting part of the match until the end. So it's something. Vince reminds us that Austin never quit earlier. Sid keeps ranting about kicking everyone's ass. Taker jumps him. Taker hammers away, lands a big boot and a splash. Sean says Taker's been given the shaft way more than Bret has, and he never complains about it. Taker works over Sid until the champ catches Taker on a splash, goes into a bear hug. The crowd tries to rally Taker. Sid grinds away. Sean talks about his future a bit. He keeps snipping with the king. Sid works the back and some punches, goes to the bear hug. Taker breaks free. Sid shoves Taker out of the ring. He tumbles back over the Spanish announce table. Sid hot shots Taker on the railing as Vince says Gorilla Monsoon has decreed this a no-holds-barred match because both men requested it. Sid slams Taker on the table. It topples over. Ross says it looks like the set of Twister. Sid runs Taker to the post into the ring where he keeps pounding away. Taker hammers back, but Sid hits a power slam for 2, gets on the back again. Vince says Austin is in pain backstage and refuses help. Sid claws away. Taker sneaks in a flying clothesline. Sid slugs at Taker. We head outside. Taker shoots him over the railing. They trade blows. Taker pulls Sid back to ringside, smacks him to the steps. He misses a leg drop. Sid goes to a chin lock. He slams Sid down, goes to a trap hole. Both guys get wiped out as Sid recovers first from a near fall. Sid stomps away again, hits a hard forearm off the middle rope. Sid heads up top, but Taker crosses him and slams him off. Taker goes up now, gets a flying clothesline for 2, tries a tombstone, but Sid reverses it, and he hits a tombstone for 2. That was a pretty good moment. Sid throws Taker outside, follows, but Bret Hart is back out, smashes Sid with 2 chair shots. Taker stalks Bret away. Sean says Bret's bitter. He loves the spotlight. Vince calls Bret a loser, basically, straight out. It says he's a loser. What a loser. Taker runs Sid into the post. We head back inside. Taker gets 2 out of chokeslam, misses a flying clothesline. Sid ducks it. Sid loads a powerbomb, but Bret comes out again. He gets on the apron. Sean's line of the night for me is here. He goes, Jesus, when Bret shows up for a 3rd time. Bret snaps Sid's neck across the top rope. Taker hits a tombstone, gets a big pop as he wins the world title for the first time since 1991. Taker does a full dark side celebration, drops to the knee, the old gray gloves, celebrates to win. So, one thing I'll give him credit for, they didn't roll Austin back out here because that would have been something they would do is he comes out and fights with Bret. I'm glad they left him to the back. We didn't see him again after that fight. Okay, in general, way too many rest holds, way too late in the night to do this kind of match. They had 2 red hot brawls going into this. We get a couple energetic spots, but just too many strikes. Slow, drawn out. The crowd was in and out. They were waiting for the big moments, but not much else. Taker's finally the man. It's during a turbulent time. We'll see how he holds up. Bret's pissed. Is he going to take some of Taker's heat? Are they going to feud? Where does Sid go from here? He's got every right to be pissed at Bret, so I'm assuming we'll get Bret and Sid. So a lot of importance, a lot going on within it, but the match itself is nothing really to get too excited about. So I went 2 1/4, mainly on the beginning and the end with the Bret stuff. The middle is just way too many rest holds. I like the near fall with the Sid tombstone, so I'll give him props there. And this just leads to more questions, which is fine. Because, again, this whole Mania is about setting up the future more than closing the year out. And that's what we do here. I don't know how else they could have shaved time or else it could have gone because they needed to fill it somehow. Maybe that opening tag goes differently. Maybe Rocky gets a better challenger. Maybe the tag title could have eaten some up. Maybe you go Flash Funk in there versus Billy if you want to eat something up. But this didn't need 20-plus minutes. I mean, It just didn't.
I mean, 5 minutes would have been big for this match. Yeah. This match always fools me because the opening brawl when Taker attacks is pretty good, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is more more energetic than I thought. And then Sid locks in that bear hug, and it just, and then after that, it's really like the table stuff's okay. Like Taker takes that bump, looks like on his neck when he flies over the table. Then the tombstone's really cool, but everything in between, it's rough. I don't think there's a whole lot going on. I don't think Sid looks very threatening, except for the tombstone, which looked like it might have broke Taker's neck.
Yeah.
And then I mean, for the finish, this is where it's again, like to me, this is bad because I don't think Taker looks that strong from this finish because it's kind of like Sid's distracted and is about to hit the powerbomb when Bret comes out again. So like Bret's the catalyst.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting thing where I think like coming out of this pay-per-view, like Bret and Austin are the 2 most important people. And whether that should be your champion, I don't know. Like whether the champion should be associated with that. And we'll see how that plays out. But I thought like this was a nice moment for Taker, but it's a little bit tainted because, I mean, it's coming out of this show, it's Bret and Austin. And then maybe even Sean, like where he fits in is a little bit.
Sid Bret, you could even argue, has more heat on it.
Sid is a weird spot because I feel like Sid's a little bit of a relic more than the others feeling. So he kind of has a tough place.
Would you say even Ahmed and LOD versus like Nation feels a little bit hotter coming out of this too?
Maybe. I mean, we talked about like I wasn't crazy. I mean, this feud was put. I mean, it
was an afterthought.
A week ago, we didn't even know this was for the title, like this match. So this is what it is. Like they give the moment to Taker, which is nice. It just felt weird that like it took Brett interfering for him to get the tombstone.
Right.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, you can argue if Brett would have came out the third time, Sid would have powerbombed him and won. So
Yes, I think we didn't need Sid protected. So yeah, I think Brett should have came out after maybe the last time, and him and Sid brawl to the back or something would have been better than the third one.
Yeah, I think you could have done like another. I mean, you could have done like the tombstone spot and Taker reverses it or something like that.
Right.
And, I mean, that would have been a cool looking spot and just been done with it. Yeah. And that still protects Sid's power bomb, which is a very protected finisher right now.
All right.
I think we need to talk about this one historically too, though.
Okay.
Because this kind of gets presented as the worst Mania main event usually. And, in some way I was like, well, it's not awful, but it's not good. I went 1.75. I don't even know if I said that. So it's low, and it's like,
what do you have Hogan sit at? Because I always picture these two kind of being similar.
I think I put that around 2. It's very tough. I like the finish with Warriors, as botched as it is. I like Warrior coming out better than anything here. And that's up to this point, up to 13. I think it's clearly it's either.
It depends if you count Hogan Yoko.
Yeah. What you do with the Hogan Yoko and Yoko Brett's a bad match, but it's a very good moment. It's an interesting thing. But then now, like looking at it historically, I mean, I still think this is in contention because I was trying to think like the Triple H epics. I put Roman is probably worse than this just because of how long it is. But the other ones, I mean, I just recently watched the Batista match, and I think it's disappointing, but I think it's good. I ended up going 3 stars on it. And
how about Reigns Taker?
Reigns Taker, I put in there. I put Cena Miz up there from 27.
Yeah.
And then is there any others that are? I would put actually Brock versus Roman from 38. I did not like that match much at all.
I would have that a little bit above this. I would have both 34. I don't like either of those that much.
I think 34 is easily ahead of that. I mean, just from a star rating standpoint, I ended up going 2.5 on 38, so it is above it.
You got to throw 36 out. I mean, that doesn't really count, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even know what was the last match. I don't even know.
Yeah, because was it even McIntyre? That's my thought that it was McIntyre Brock, but it may not have been.
I can tell you.
I'm not positive.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would say Hogan.
It's in
Hogan,
the
Hogan. Well, we'll take Hogan. I guess Hogan Sid is kind of similar to those Brock matches, but if you want to say the worst, Hogan Sid, the Brett Yoko, Hogan Yoko, however you want to do those. I mean, Brett Yoko from 10. Hogan Yoko from 9 is if you count it, it's probably the worst given what they did. But then you got Reigns Triple H, Reigns Taker, and then Cena Miz. And if you want to count 36, count 36. Depending on Reigns Brock, where you stand at 38, I guess. I mean, Reigns Taker is real bad. Like I just watched that recently. I was just going through some of the manias and like I was really low on that. It's so freaking long and boring.
Yeah.
Let me check real quick.
I mean, that's I
went 2.25. So
Hogan Sid at least is pretty short at 8.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, because you can't even give this match the benefit of the doubt for that. I mean, it's 21 minutes. No. Like it's long. This is
so long. I have this and Reigns Taker graded the same 2.25. They're both long and boring. So these might be the 2 along with Triple H Reigns. Like to me, those are probably the 3 worst. I mean, I haven't watched Cena Miz in forever, so I can't.
Yeah, me either. I don't want to come because I love the video package so much. It was I don't know.
But those 3, if you had to give me 3 not to watch again, like this is probably this Reigns Taker and Reigns Hunter for 100%. I do not ever want to watch either of those again. I'd probably pick this over those, at least because of the Brett stuff and there's a little bit more energy in there. But Logan Crossland watched along with us here. Says McIntyre Brock was the main event of 36 night too. So that's probably up there, I'm guessing.
I think a real time interesting thing about this match was it's certainly not praised, but I don't think it's as crapped on as it was in retrospect. Like
Right.
it, they were like, I mean, even on the Torch comments, there was a lot of like, "Oh, I thought that'd be the worst match of the year, but it turned out okay," and stuff like that. The other, where did the rumor start that Sid crapped his pants or like
That
this?
I think it might have happened, but I'm pretty sure it was a house show in '91. Everyone attributes
Yeah.
it to this match. There's no way he shit his pants and wrestled
No,
20 minutes.
but people
Yeah.
said that on this
Yeah.
match. Like, why was this match?
I think that's like a urban legend. If it did happen, I'm pretty sure it was like a '91 match. Originally, was like the story, but
It's always the funny
yeah, there's no way it was here. No way. It was
No,
here.
no. But yeah, I mean, so a funny, just an interesting thing is Meltzer gives this match a star and a quarter, right? But he gave the uncensored main event 1 star, so he actually ranks this higher
That's
than
crazy.
uncensored, which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. There was a lot. Oh God, why am I becoming a Hogan defender? But there was so much like still anti-Hogan sentiment that like if you put the second Piper Hogan match compared to this match, I don't see how people would prefer this one. Because that second Hogan Piper match is shorter, it's more intense, it has more heat. I mean, this match does not have much heat. And a lot of the rest holds are part of that, but I mean, it just doesn't.
Yeah, I
Um,
would agree
I,
with that. Yeah,
I
I would
can't.
agree
I
with that.
mean, I'm not holding the Super Brawl match as some classic, but I definitely think it's better than this.
I guess
Um,
let me see what I had that at. The Super Bowl match was at I had it at 2, so I guess I had it a quarter below, but it's negligible. I mean, it's close enough. Whatever.
bad move, bad ratings on your part.
You're a bad move. All right, let's get to these awards. Are you good with any other topics? You set?
I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay. All right, match of the night. That's probably the easiest match of
Yeah.
the night we've ever assigned. Moment. I went with Austin passing out. I mean, I think it's the most iconic moment. Him bleeding out and passing.
That's
Passing
that
out.
blood from a stone visual.
Yep. Are you going Austin MVP or are you splitting?
Both. Yeah.
It's hard not to. All right. Shots fired was just Ross. That one thing he said, it's not posing and covering up bald spots. Beyond that, pretty much quiet night on the commentary front. Honestly, the war's been pretty quiet overall. Besides Piper taking his little shots, it hasn't been a lot either way for a while here.
Yeah.
Piper gets all heated up. All right. No debuts, I don't think. Or Rocky Johnson. Have we seen him? I guess that's probably one.
Yeah, I didn't even think about him, but let me add him.
We didn't have any Farouk Please Knows. We didn't have any dropped angles. I think that's it. I think Rocky's probably the only guy we had new. Yeah. You confirming?
Yeah.
Or are you looking if we had Rocky before?
Yeah, I don't think so. So I
don't think so. We had Atlas. I don't think Rocky showed up.
Okay.
All right. Final grade. This is what I think this is honestly, we kind of said it earlier. I think it's one of the hardest pay-per-views in WrestleManias ever to grade because it's like, how much do you weight that Brett match versus everything else? It's a short show. There's some bad, but not all-time bad. There's some blah. The crowd for when they needed to be hot was hot. It's super important historically. It's in one of the hottest stretches. For a long time, I had this as one of the worst couple of Manias ever. I'm much further away from that than I've ever been. I put it more middle of the road, I think. It's short, which definitely helps this case long term. It's a short card. It's only 7 matches. It's tight. They don't waste a lot of time. There's no like stupid segments in between the matches that drag things down like you get in modern Manias. And I give a lot of points to Hogan to Hart Austin. It's such a big match. It's such a big part of the card. It weighs a heavy part of the card. I like the street fight. I like the tag title match. I went 7 out of 10. I didn't know how else to put it. 5 out of 10 feels like the lazy way. It's half good, half bad, but it's not really that because it's all-time match. It's the greatest match in company history. And it's not like it's a 9-hour show with one great match, right? It's a 2-hour, 40-minute show with the best match in company history.
Yeah, I mean, I go 6 out of 10.
Bad rating.
I think I think up to this point it's better than Mania 1, 2, 4, 9, and then it's where you land on
Better than
11.
11. It's better than
I
11.
don't know. I thought I may like 11 better. I'd have to
I'll say for a
rewatch.
long time, I used to argue 11 versus 13. But to me, 11 has nothing that touches this match. And then what's the
Oh,
best
yeah.
match on that? Is either LT Bigelow or Diesel Shawn, and those both barely scrape 4, probably. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just think I like, I mean, definitely 11
Have
has
you
the
watched
second,
11?
not recently.
All right, go
So,
watch it, and then you see if you change your mind.
well,
Watch
I
it
don't
tonight.
I don't know. I
Brett
feel like
Backlund
as a
is
show, I may have been lower on this one as an overall show.
Brett Backlund is no good. All the
Well,
celebrity stuff. The
it's
best
like,
moment is Owen and Yoko winning. I don't know, like, yeah.
it's no good, but
They're
I don't
probably
know.
similar, but Brett Austin is way better than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the next two best matches are on 11.
Yeah.
I mean, your argument, that's a short show, too.
I don't know.
All right.
You would
But
hate
anyway, so yeah, 6 out of 10. Again, like the torch. If you have the torch, read the WrestleMania reader reviews. They're all over the place. 9.5, 5, 5, 7, 7.5, 10, 10, 8.5, 10, 6.5, 9.5, 7,
Yeah,
6.
I would say in the moment, this is a show that
Crazy one.
aged. I think it aged a little worse, but in the moment, it's so much better and different than anything they had been doing. It stood out because it's like, I remember at the time, I loved, like, I was like obsessed. I'm like, even Taker Sid, I think I was probably like, all right, 3 great matches and this all-time match and the promotion's getting hot. Like, in the moment, it feels like such a sidestep from all the pay-per-views leading up to it that it's like, if I could see why the ratings were through the roof by a lot of people.
Yeah, the Observer poll results is 125 thumbs up, 32 thumbs down, and 6 in the middle. So 77% thumbs up. So there you go. And
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
uncensored's very. It was like almost split equally between thumbs up, thumbs in the middle.
I think it's all in context of the time with these things being live. Like, I think Raw, this was such a jump from what we had been seeing. Whereas Uncensored, WCW had been so hot, I could see why people might have been a little disappointed in Uncensored. All right, let's get to our combo awards. Best show based on both our grades is Uncensored. We both had it higher. Best match though is obviously Hart Austin, and best moment to me is still the Blood from a Stone. Do you disagree with that at all?
Best moment's very difficult. But I guess
I mean, what do you have it close to? The
Sting.
Sting, yeah. I don't know. This is way more iconic though.
Yeah, but I mean, you're giving it everything else.
I don't care. It's the most important moment in match in company
Yeah,
history.
but I do think that's a little bit of a cheat because moment's a moment. I don't know.
Yeah, him bleeding, I think, is like the moment. Like,
I get it, but
him pushing up and the blood coming out. It's like one of the most iconic
of course
visuals in wrestling history.
I mean, I guess
That moment in that match. I'm not saying the match. That moment is the most iconic visual ever. Like,
yeah, but all right.
oh my god.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're doing that, on other matches, you're gonna have to. I mean, the most iconic moment at Starrcade '97 is gonna be the fast count. So be ready in December.
Well, I'm not going to argue that versus anything in your house DX. I think we're good.
All right,
we're good. We'll talk in 4 years.
It's just tough. I mean, it's a tough loss for.
It's cool. I mean, yeah, Sting Luger's great. We've had tough losses before.
That's one of. I'd say that's the biggest though, because you can argue that's the best moment in the whole NWO WCW feud.
Yeah, I mean, it just happened to be 1 month where we had 2 of the greatest moments.
Yeah, I mean,
the
funny thing about Austin Hart too is, I mentioned that this is probably like 7 or 8 of my matches all time. It's not my 1997 match of the year because Masao and Kobashi from January 20th, 97 have what I think is the second best match.
It's a sneaky loaded year because it also
97 worldwide. Yeah, 97 worldwide is one of the best years ever.
But even just North America, I mean, you got Taker Shawn still. You got Taker Brett, and you have Eddie Ray. There's like a lot of great stuff to come still.
Yeah. 97's one of the best wrestling years ever. Yep, easy.
All right, better commentary. We'll go ECW. We'll go WCW here. Even though I think the Bret Austin match has the best individual commentary, the balance of a show of Uncensored.
Yeah, I would say Ross is maybe the best, but it was really bad. Besides that match, it was very odd.
All right, star of the night. Do you want to still split with Bret and Austin? Do you want to
I
go
would
Austin
split.
Sting?
I would split with Austin Brett on that, actually.
Okay. And then ratings winner, obviously by rate, WCW.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing. So WrestleMania 13 has 237,000 buys from what I could see. Royal Rumble had 244, which I think is crazy that it didn't even beat Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find that like very bizarre. I don't know what
I think some of it had to be the build. It was a haphazard card. It wasn't built great. And, we kind of talked about it off air quickly. I think part of it too is at this time, you really had to decide your pay-per-view money. I know me as a kid, like having to ask for it. I have to kind of beg and steal. Where am I going to, what month am I going to have my buddy with the box record? So there might have just been a month where Uncensored was that draw at the NWO versus WCW. And I'll also say, I'm curious this. We should look historically through 96 and into 97. Does the month with the first show, does it tend to do better at all? Because people spend the money on the first one and then don't the second one?
I mean,
WCW just wins everyone.
Yeah, WCW is going to win no matter what. Yeah.
I'm just curious if it helped at all.
I mean, you might could do a comparison. I think the bigger thing might be the Rodman effect. Uncensored,
yeah, that too.
About the build it was rough. Uncensored did better than Super Brawl. Uncensored is estimated at 325,000 buys on WrestleNomics, so that's 100,000 more than WrestleMania. It's a significant, 40% more the Mania. So big win over a card.
Yeah, I mean that's huge to beat
built
Mania.
to roughly. So
it's got to be the only time in history, right? That WCW pay-per-view beats Mania, probably.
Yeah, I mean because the next Mania is huge. I don't think I need to look and see. Let me look real quick.
I guess that Uncensored 2000 doesn't beat WrestleMania 2000.
No, but let me look and see because Uncensored 96 I know shockingly did a pretty good buy rate. So WrestleNomics has Uncensored 96 at 250,000. Let me see. They have WrestleMania 12 at 290,000. So I mean, this one was down from last year. So yeah, this is the only year that the March Uncensored beats WrestleMania.
All right. Well, that's WrestleMania 13. It was cool to do another Mania. It's been a while. Hopefully, everyone's enjoying Mania season. Again, subscribe. Everything here at North South Connection. Follow us on social media. We appreciate all of the love. Chad will be back in 2 weeks. We'll cover the fallout from the show. And we're kind of in between with WCW, between Uncensored and Spring Stampede. So we'll see how that goes. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited to see the fallout for the shows. And like we said, I mean, anything with 97 is going to be exciting. So stick with us.
For sure. Thanks for watching. Smell the napalm. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.